Good morning and welcome to Today in LA. I'm Forrest Lee, this is Bill Rice, and on the phone we have Mike Amos calling in from Panama City Beach, Florida. Good morning, Mike.
Good morning to you. Everybody is beautiful down here. If you plan on coming down here this weekend, so far it is gorgeous. The water's a little bit rough, but hopefully that'll get better as the day goes on.
When you go down, do you have to deal with a lot of traffic, Mike?
No, not really. I go down. Let me tell you this. I'm going to give y'all a secret. I go down through Elba, and then I go up, in Elba to the insurance company there and take a right, and I go all the way through Ponce de Leon and all the way to Bruce. That dead end at Bruce, a little town called Bruce. Take a left and go to the dog track. Take a right, and I tell you this, it's got great roads and no traffic. I mean, actually, no traffic. It's unreal.
How long does it take you to get there?
2 hours and 15 minutes, or 2:30 at the most. 2:30 at the most. So I'd say around 2 hours and 15. If you're driving 70 miles an hour.
That's good too. I mean, I tell people all the time when I talk to folks from other parts of the country, I say, man, we're 2.5 hours from some of the prettiest beaches in the world.
But I'll just tell you, nobody goes that route, and the roads are real good. They're excellent roads, and I've been going that way for years. And my wife would shoot me if she knew I gave it out to everybody, but it is the best way, I think.
I bet you. Well,
no traffic.
As much driving as you've done, you would know. There's three ways you can go through Dothan. Or you go through Enterprise, right, which most people go through Enterprise.
Yeah, that's what
we usually go through Elba.
Like when you get to Enterprise, you run into some traffic unless you go through town. You probably better off doing that. But the way I told you, that Ponce de Leon way, it goes through the towns. It goes through. They make it easy. Like you go through Elba, you go through. Let's see, you go through Sampson, you split Sampson in half, go right through Sampson. You stay on 167 all the way through to the Florida line, and then when you get to Florida line, you go through the Ponce de Leon, and head on, and then you come on down to Bruce. The road splits at Bruce, so take that left at Bruce, and you're on going to Ebro, and once you go to Ebro, you take a right, and you're straight to Panama City.
You're not far from Panama City when you get to Ebro.
Well, there was an article.
About 10 miles.
There was an article in Alabama.com the other day. The 7 or 8 stops that you need to make going to the beach.
Okay.
One was Jim's Barbecue in Billingsley, as you're heading to the beach. That's on Highway 82. Chilton County Peaches on 65 and Highway 82.
Well, I've been eating some good peaches.
All right, hold on to this, Mike. 331, 2 stops in Highland Home. One is the airplane at Highland Home School, and the other one is the It Don't Matter restaurant. All right, downtown Luverne was listed on 331.
Yeah.
Opp has 2 locations. Go and see the Veterans Memorial Scenic Overlook in Opp, and the Southeast Alabama Speedway near Kinston, Highway 189 and 52, and Doc's Country Store in Opp. Yeah, Doc's Country Store in Opp. But that was listed in the Alabama.com, that national.
Well, wait now. I mean, boo, 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 boo.
It's argumentative.
No, the way to go to the beach is through Troy, and I don't see anything in Troy in this article about places to stop in Troy.
Yeah, probably Sisters would be up there.
But don't most people go in from lots of places in the state of Alabama and other states? When they go to the beach, they go through Troy, Alabama.
Go to Luverne and get in the traffic jam.
Right at Troy and go to some people stay straight to Enterprise, but I go to Elba then Elba.
I know. Well, you go through. Let's put it this way: you go through some of Troy. How about that?
Well,
Yeah,
some
that's
people
right.
go
That's
331.
right.
That's
You go,
I
I
know.
tell you what, you go by.
But I know some people do go 331, but just as many or more people go 231.
the chicken
Yeah,
shack.
let me
That's
tell
where I
you
ate
this,
last
though,
night.
if
I'd stop
they're
there.
going 231, they're making a mistake because they got to go over the bridge in Panama City and a lot of traffic. So if you do go continue, go on through Graceville, cut off and go to Graceville. And let me tell you this, Graceville is two of the best shrimp places in the country. When I'm at the, oh boy, I can't remember the names, but there are two excellent places to eat shrimp, and it is really, really wonderful. Yeah, that is in Graceville. If you cut back.
Well, the way to go to the beach is a big deal. I mean, you see billboards that say what shortest route to the beaches. Go through.
But I'm telling you, folks, right now.
Go through Elba. Doesn't Elba have one, or go through Enterprise?
I know I'm opening up a can of worms, but when I get to Elba, I take the bypass around Elba, and then I'm coming out, and then I'm heading straight for Sampson.
Right. That's
Sampson,
people coming
be
from
careful
Troy.
for the speed limit at Camp Sampson. You can get in trouble
I'll say
with
this:
speed.
people going to the beach when they hit Troy, they must hate it because they're zooming
Oh, yeah.
down 231, going 65, 70 miles an hour, and then they hit Troy, and then they hit about
No
10,
question.
10 traffic lights. And
Yeah. One thing I could tell them that might help them in Troy is if you took your an early exit at I say you took an early exit though to the right and bypass Troy by going down
Pike County Lake Road.
yeah,
Yeah, you could do that. You could take a right at Jabs.
yeah, that's what you're saying. Yeah,
Yeah.
turn it
Take a
at
right at
and
Jabs,
you
cross
mi-
the railroad track, take a left,
You
and come
will
out.
miss some traffic.
That's right. You're on and you're on I can't even remember it now, but it's the best turn, I promise you. If it's real crowded on the bypass.
Yeah, good idea. What you got over there? Go ahead, let's get Michael.
Here, this looks like Michael's calling in.
You always called in at the same time.
Today is National German.
Guten Morgen.
Yep, today's National German Chocolate Day, and
Man, that's
corn
one
on
of
the
my favorite
cob.
days, and that's good.
And corn on the
I
cob
love
day.
corn on the cob.
I put up
I
some.
tell you what, I love corn on the cob, and we stick our corn on the cob in the oven. You put it here, and it's only seconds away from being great. And I love the microwave, the corn on the cob.
I blanched and put up some fresh corn last week, about 30 ears. Had some 4 ears in a bag, some 6. And
Did you?
last night I snapped beans, and I plan on. It looks like I'm gonna be able to can between 12 and 15 jars of snap beans today
From your garden?
from my garden.
Gosh, awesome.
I'm gonna do about pints, because a pint's good enough for Jody, Abby, and I.
Well, I want you to help me educate me here now. The garden is great, and more people are doing it. I couldn't do that. But then the second part of the equation is the canning of them. I mean, to save them year round. I mean, is that tough or hard?
Freezing snap beans is not very good. Now you can freeze butter beans and peas, but you got to blanch them. So after I pick
When you
them,
say blanch them, what do you mean?
blanch is when you bring them to a boil for let them boil for about 2 minutes. Drain that hot water, but immediately immerse them in ice cold water and let them cool off to stop the cooking process.
Okay.
All right, I save that juice though, so when I'm doing all that, I'm bringing my pressure cooker to a heavy boil, and I've got my jars in that pressure cooker with a little bit of water in them to let the jars get hot.
Mm-hmm.
Then when I get ready to put my beans in my jars, I simply take that hot water out of the jar, pour it in the sink, and then pack your beans, and then I pour the bean juice on top, put a lid on it, and seal it real good. Put it back in the pressure cooker. Once you get it full, then you turn your handle top, and put your weight on it, and you'll bring it to a boil. Once it starts boiling, you'll let it cook or pressurize for about 10 minutes. And then you take it off the eye and then let it cool off and simmer. You can't open that top because it'll bust. You let it kind of cool for another 10 minutes, and then you take it off, take your cans out, put them on a towel, and in about less than 10 minutes, you'll hear them go, you hear them pop.
Yeah.
And you know that they have sealed. And
man.
And then, but where do you store them? Just anywhere?
Yeah, I'll let them cool off, and then I'll put them in the cabinet, or I'll stack them in the.
And then 3 months from now, you can take them out and just pour them in a pan and just warm them up.
Warm them up. I'll probably cook them 10, 15 minutes, but they are sensational. These are rattlesnake running snap beans. And they're kind of green. They got purple streaks on them. And I guess that's why they call them rattlesnake. But they have a little bit of purple on them when you cook them. But after you cook them, it's completely green.
So you're going to get a lot of meals out of, 10 or 15 jars of these beans?
Well, I'm going to try to put up at least 20 or 30 for us. And then I usually give the fresh ones away. And sometimes I'll jar some and give them as a gift or whatever. I didn't jar any last year, but I have done it a lot in the past.
Well, for prepping, I mean, if you in inflation, I mean, this makes great sense to have this stuff jarred, as you say, waiting just in case you need it.
Well, I don't have enough air for it.
And you'll use it whether there's a natural disaster or not.
That's right. Well, it's good food, and I plan on going to Campbell's Produce and buying a big old bag of the white peas, what I call white peas, and all you have to do is make sure that rinse them real good. And then you blanch them, which you'll cook them. Once they come to a boil, you let them boil for about 2 minutes. Drain it, put them in ice water, and let them stop that cooking process. And then you can just drain them and put them in a freezer bag and seal it real good. Put them in your freezer.
I think what you're talking about, these white peas, those are what my grandmother probably used to shell.
They're very small. Of course, you got black-eyed.
But they're actually they're a little green, right?
Right. Well,
man,
purple hull peas are good too.
Crowder peas.
You get them at Piggly Wiggly or Campbell's Produce, but
man, they're good.
I get them at both places.
Yeah. Do you make homemade pepper sauce?
I have done that, and I've got a bunch of jalapenos, ghost peppers.
I would like some of that. I've got plenty of whiskey bottles and vodka bottles I can give you. And wait a minute, now, you don't need to do fill one up.
And the thing about hot pepper sauce, rarely do I put it on my collards and turnips. When I get through, my dessert is I'll pour it on my cornbread, and soak it in my cornbread. That's what I like my pepper sauce.
Yeah, I love pepper sauce.
What about
Dad's got a friend in Georgia that will bring us a Crown Royal bottle of pepper sauce.
Michael, have you ever had
that's right.
that go juice down there at Santa Rosa Beach? That go juice?
Yeah, that's Duke. That's Duke
Oh
sauce, yeah.
man, I like sipping that from the bottle.
Yeah,
he's a great singer down here. He plays with Dre Clampett. He's the godfather of the lead singer Kyle. He played with Elvis. Played guitar on some Elvis records.
Wow.
And now,
he also had a hit song for a little while, like in the '70s, called "Bayou Country." He sang that song.
Bayou Country.
Yeah. Mike, I was probably doing the wrong thing. I was telling folks the way to go to the beach, and I probably ought to shut up, don't you think?
Yeah.
Boy, going through Elba, Sampson, Ponce Leon, Bruce. At
That's
Bruce,
right.
you can
turn
left and go to Ebro, to Panama City Beach. A lot of people don't know. At Bruce, you can turn right and go to Freeport and go to 38 and
across the bridge.
Yeah, Sandestin that way. So either way, it'll be that way.
That's a good way. Right there at Bruce. So remember at Bruce there, you can take a left and go to Ebro and go into Panama City Beach, or take a right and go to
Beaches of 38.
Yeah, and to the bridge at.
I don't think a lot of people knew the shortcut to Troy from I-85 for a long time, which is the Pike Road cut through. Everybody knows it by now, but we've discovered it. 1972, we lived in Opelika and would drive to grandmother's all the time in Troy.
Oh,
but if I can just remember my dad telling people, you know, when you're going back to Atlanta or Auburn or Opelika, or you said, turn off at 28 miles on Pike Road, and you'll save some time.
Yeah. Well, Oklahoma softball won it all, 5-1 over Florida State. They played at 3 o'clock, and I wish they'd have played at night. Of course, I kind of was pulling for Florida State, but it really doesn't matter.
I thought they were through. They're not through?
No, they finished yesterday.
Yeah, they're done now.
Yeah. The last 5 championships, Oklahoma's won 3 of them, and they get to play at home, 20 miles from the campus, or 25. So congratulations to all the Sooners.
Oklahoma has the most home runs ever for a softball team?
Yeah, I believe it was 159 before yesterday's game, and one player's hit like 34. They have another player's hit like 27.
They're like the 27 Yankees, with Babe Ruth and Lou Gehrig.
And you wonder if Alabama would have pitched, their great pitcher, on early in the tournament, they might have been there, don't you think?
Well, a lot of people are complaining that Murphy should have pitched her. You know, she had a day's rest, and pitched her twice. You know, against Florida State, but who knows?
They think about it every day.
Well, the other girl they pitched did better than the star. She got shelled in her last game, and then the other girl lost 2-0, which is not bad.
Yeah. Well, they got there.
Yeah, they.
You know, what do you think about the college football playoffs? They're talking about doing expansion, and I think it's interesting news. They're talking about a 12-team model, and it would be an expanded field, which would include the 6 highest-ranked FBS champions from each conference. So you're talking about 6 conference champions, and then in addition to that, it'd be 6 at-large teams. I mean, if it goes to 12, Alabama would be in it every year until Saban's done coaching.
That's what my first thought too. I think this they're not talking about this happening, and I think it's probably a done deal if they're reporting this. So yeah.
Greg Sankey's really bald. He said under the proposed playoff format, the 4 highest-ranked conference champions would be the top 4 seeds and would receive a first-round bye. Seeds 5 through 12 would play each other on the home field of the higher-seeded teams. 5 through 12, 6 through 11, 7 through 10, 8 through 9 in the first round. The quarterfinals and semifinals would take place in bowl games. The championship game would continue to be at a neutral site.
It said that the working group was, of course, SEC Commissioner Greg Sankey, Big 12 Commissioner Bob Bowsley, Mountain West Commissioner Craig Thompson, and Notre Dame Athletics Director Jack Swarbrick. They were the committee that came up with it.
This is big news.
And the Mountain West is non-power 5.
Yeah.
I guess.
Did you see who would have played last year? Of course, it had been number 1 was Alabama, Clemson, Ohio State, and Oklahoma all would have had a bye. Then Coastal Carolina would have played Notre Dame, and that winner would have played Oklahoma.
How crazy would that have been?
Yeah. Indiana would have played Texas A&M. Then the winner of that would have played Ohio State. Iowa State would have played Florida, and that winner would have played Clemson. And then Georgia versus Cincinnati would have played Alabama.
So you would have had 3 SEC teams.
SEC.
That's why Sankey likes it. That's why I like it.
You'd have had 4.
All right.
last year. You'd have had 4: Alabama, Georgia, Florida, and Texas A&M.
All right. So that
So,
you
You know
know,
what? It's all about money, and these schools
Yes,
will make a bunch of money. But you know who makes the money first? These athletic directors. And Sankey all those athletic directors will get a huge bonus as far as money.
Well, next year, the national championship, let's go back. The playoffs next year, the Goodyear Cotton Bowl and the Capital One Orange Bowl will host the semifinals on the 31st of December. And then the national championship game will take place on January the 10th at Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis, Indiana.
Indiana.
In the Dome.
Okay.
So,
Well, I think it's going to be great for the SEC teams, and the best football is in the SEC. So, yeah, 4 teams last year would have made it per Force's story. But there'll be years where there's 5 SEC teams that might make it. More than that.
well, hitting the next round, they're going to be playing in the bowls. They're going to incorporate the bowls, some of the bowls.
Some of the bowls, yeah.
The first one would, I would think.
The first
No.
2.
Maybe that.
I mean, can you ever imagine a day that you could see Troy in a playoff game? I mean, that's impossible
right.
now.
Well, in regular
You
time,
would have to go. You would have to go undefeated.
You would have to go undefeated, win your league, and be one of the 6 highest rated conference champions. And the only way that Troy could probably do that, I don't know, is they run the table like Coastal Carolina did, and then you beat, a Tennessee or an LSU or something. Yeah.
well, last year, would Coastal be in its position if we'd had a regular year in the Pac-10, Pac-12, Big Ten, all that? If it had been a normal year, I don't think they'd been number 12.
They benefited from the
Their only big
Pac-12
win
and
was BYU.
the Pac-12 and the Big Ten pretty much just canceled half their games. So that left a window of opportunity for the Sun Belt teams and the teams like Liberty to get a lot more national attention, and they took advantage of it.
Right, and the big linebacker that led Ole Miss in tackling last year, and he was second the year before, Jacquez Jones, is transferring to Kentucky. He's a graduate of Hillcrest High School in Tuscaloosa. He has started 20 games the last 3 seasons for the Rebels, but he entered the transfer portal, and he now will be a Kentucky Wildcat.
The good news,
something?
the good news for the Ole Miss defense is that everybody was coming back. The bad news for the Ole Miss defense was that everybody was coming back.
Except that linebacker.
Well, I'll say this.
He won't be coming back.
Yes.
They've got to
probably
come
don't
up
miss
with
him.
a date. They've got to come up with a cutoff date sometime. They surely can't wait till the season starts. What do you think?
Well,
I think they are. Next year they're gonna move it. I think I've read that it's going to be May 1st is the cutoff date.
Well, Arkansas had that superstar Desi Seals, who I think started a couple of years at Arkansas, was going to transfer to Auburn. Now he's changed his mind. He's going to stay at home in Jonesboro and play for the Arkansas State.
Basketball or football?
Basketball.
You're going to
Basketball. This is basketball. 6'2", 200-pound guard.
He's not a football player. He's a basketball player.
He's appeared in 98 games for Arkansas over the last 3 years, and
we'll see him in our league.
Yep, he'll be playing for Arkansas State.
I wonder if Auburn might have rescinded their offer.
So they're picking up more guards, and I think he saw the. Hey, I'm gonna go play.
Guys, now y'all not telling me that these guys can make a change on the 15th, the day they report, or something like that. That you mean they can hold on all the way until the practice starts?
Well,
I don't know, Mike.
They've lost some since.
It's still happening today, and it's June.
I know it.
But that's a good question. I think I have read that in the next year they're going to make a firm deadline, which is May 1st, which is about right when spring practice is over for most teams.
Well, most players, most transfers. Football has so many players, and then
I've made the point, I've been reading on the Athletic stories about this playoff expansion and then also the transfer portal. And the transfer portal, it's going to help the big boys. The good players at the Troys of the world are going to be more likely to be poached. They're going to be grabbed by so that's not going to help your Troys of the world. This playoff expansion is not, y'all hear me now, what my dad say, hear me now, believe me later, or listen to me now. It's not going to help Troy. Here's why. There is going to be a premium on big-time victories and playing good schedules like there is in basketball. And so the big programs that want to make the playoffs, they are going to want to schedule other games against big conference teams. They're not going to want to play the cupcakes like they used to in the past. That'll punish them maybe and keep them out of the top 12. So I think that the Troys and the Louisiana Monroes are going to get fewer of these big-time games with the Alabamas and Ohio States and LSUs.
Well, my argument of what you just said is you said that Troy's the Troys, the Georgia Southerns, they're going to get plucked. Their best players are going to get consumed by the bigger schools. Who on Troy's roster does LSU, Auburn, Alabama, Notre Dame? Who on Troy's roster do they want?
They would want
maybe the punter.
Well, they want.
Yeah, they already got the punter.
So
they already got the wide receiver.
They already got them when it was recruiting.
It might not. You're right. It might not be Alabama and Ohio State, but it'll be Houston. I made the point about this Marcus Jones from Enterprise.
Louisville got some good players from Georgia.
If Troy had Marcus Jones the last 2 years, Troy would not have lost 12 games, folks. I mean, this is the best kick returner in America. He's a NFL style caliber defensive back. And that's where Troy has been hurting, is in the defensive backfield. And when you got a great kick returner, he turns games around if he can return a kick or two for a touchdown.
I think it's more of the player wanting the greener pasture, especially as it relates to basketball. I can understand quarterbacks and running backs who are like, you got a half dozen. But a lot of this transfer, and I think, is a kid wanting a greener pasture.
No doubt.
I
mean, I can look at it from the kid's perspective and the libertarian perspective, saying, yeah, he gets to do, it's his life. He should do what benefits him. Yeah. The point I make is, it's really hurting, especially the smaller Troy programs of the world, and will continue to. All the trends I see are not good for the Troys of the world, and that affects all of us right here. I mean, we made such a big deal about moving Division I, but now we've got rules that are allowing our best players to be poached. These big teams that we love playing these $1 million payday games, we might still get a couple of them. We got some of them already signed up into the future. That's good, under contract. But I think in the future you're not going to see those opportunities to play those big teams as often.
I bet South Carolina is looking at Troy and said we better watch out in that game that we're playing with them. I want to mention that the show is brought to you by Premier Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, and Ram trucks on the bypass in Troy. And Rice, they've got a sale going on now. They think it might be the most terrific sale of all times. How about $29? It'll be $29 down, $99 per month. And you're driving a nice used car from Premier Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, and Ram.
I say thumbs up. I say go see the great guys out there and let them hook you up.
My fingers are crossed about our great linebacker at Troy. And Troy's got probably the third best linebacker in America in Marshall. And Mike, how in the world are we able to keep this guy from going?
He might just love the university. He might just love where he is and don't want to go anywhere else. I mean, his height is the biggest issue. If he was 6 foot, he could go anywhere he wanted to in the country. But I don't know if some of the big SEC programs and ACC programs are looking for a guy that's only 5'9".
Yeah, I don't know if he. You know, we say I don't know if he would start at a lot of these big programs.
I think he's a guy that will I don't know if he'll get drafted, but I think he could be a free agent guy in the pros one day and play special teams for a long time.
Will he play as a junior? Will he play as a junior or a sophomore?
Well, he's a junior because of last year, but he could play 2 more years.
Mm.
Oh, so he could play as a sophomore. Is that right?
Well, no, he could play. He's played 3 years. He could play.
Okay, I get it.
But he could play 2 more because everybody gets last year back.
And then they got a kid that they say is really good from Iowa, who came into Troy, and that gives Troy 2 of the best linebackers in the country.
Hey, is Charles Henderson gone out and recruited a quarterback for us?
I've heard there may be a transfer to have come in.
Well, I was watching some video on Facebook yesterday of the Adams kid, and man, he really can throw the ball.
Yeah, that's. Well, I'm glad you said it first, but I heard. Is his first name Parker?
Yeah,
he transferred
Adams,
from Pike Liberal Arts to Charles Henderson.
From Pike Liberal Arts to Charles Henderson. And
Somebody transferred from Pike Liberal Arts to Charles Henderson?
Yeah, because
they're doing 7-on-7 yesterday, and he can really throw the ball.
Yeah, because
but now he plays at Pike.
He played at Pike. He's transferring to Charles Henderson.
Transferred to Charles Henderson?
Yes, sir. Because because the quarterback at G.W. Long will be coming to Pike Liberal Arts.
Oh gosh!
The starting quarterback from G.W. Long.
It's going to be a trade.
It's called transfer portal.
High school transfer portal.
Greener pastures.
Yeah,
but
it makes sense. Though. I mean, he's related to Austin Ingram, and Austin Ingram made that same move as well from Pike Liberal Arts to Charles Henderson. Of course, he ended up being the greatest quarterback in Charles Henderson history. Austin was, but
does that mean?
I tell you what, he can really throw the ball. Just from what I watched yesterday, I was watching some stuff his dad posted on Facebook.
What's his what classification is he?
I think he's only a 10th grader.
Oh, okay, good.
I think he might be a kicker too.
Well, Charles Henderson, if old Holly comes back, Charles Henderson's got one of the best kickers in the state. He's a friend of mine from Pike Road that travels from Pike Road every day to Troy and plays on the Charles Henderson football team. My wife was instrumental in getting him to come from Pike Road to Troy, and he's a punter and a kicker and really good enough to be a prospect, I think.
Oh, Mizell twins, Mike, are good ball players at Charles Henderson.
Bo and Bryson.
Mizell twins.
Yeah, Bo and Bryson.
What is this?
One of the quarterback, and he looked good. The quarterback is just a sophomore, and he looked good.
Yeah. Bo and Bryson Mizell.
Yeah.
And they got 2 daughters, Kaylee and Cassidy, that are cheerleaders, and the Charles Henderson cheerleading squad did real well at Auburn, at the Auburn University cheerleader.
They sure did.
They did real well.
And let me say this, Forrest, their cheerleaders were as good as I've seen them in years, and I'll tell you one of the reasons. They're being coached by former Atlanta Falcon cheerleader. She was Atlanta Falcon cheerleader for 5 years, and now she's living in Troy.
Wow.
Really? Who's
working with Charles Henderson cheerleaders. She works with Charles Henderson cheerleaders.
I'll have to ask my wife about that.
I don't think she teaches there. I think she's like a she's.
And far as what I saw, I think they have 22 cheerleaders,
Right, they've got a big number.
They look good, really sharp.
Yeah.
And that means a lot. I tell you what.
Dad always had a problem with the numbers of cheerleaders. I think we had like 8.
Hey, that's right. And now, because look, you get a cheerleader, and he's got to bring their mama. They got to bring their mama, the daddy, the brothers, the sisters, the aunts, the uncles, the cousins, and whoever else lives in the neighborhood.
That's right.
They're coming to watch her perform.
It helps
just like the band. You got a big band. You're going to increase your.
Who decided that back then? Joe Rake was always the cheerleading coach all those years. She just wanted 8 cheerleaders.
Well, that was kind of the standard
That's right.
everywhere.
They cheerleaders, and they performed. See, they
was it 8? Was it 8 or 10? It might have been 10.
It was 8, and they had championship. They won championships over and over under Joe Ray.
Well,
they were probably as good a cheerleading group as there was in the state of Alabama at their sides and so forth.
You know,
definitely.
But it's been good news. It's been good news, and boy, let me tell you, Mike, up here where I am, it's sort of rough, but it's going to be beautiful when the day gets going.
I'm going to invite
you. Walked over to that candy store yet and got you some candy?
Oh, yeah. I got to stay away from that candy store.
Chocolate chip cookies and stuff?
Oh, I tell you what, I've never seen a candy store like this one. It's a giant candy store, and if you come into Panama City, take a right at the Y, it's about a mile down on the right, and it's really good. It's really good.
Yeah, we might have to take the girls this weekend. I think it's going to be raining tomorrow, so maybe we'll take tomorrow.
You know, I'm glad that we're getting rain in Troy and Pike County, and Troy Cable Viewing area. Have y'all been reading about the terrible drought they're having out west, though?
We're having a drought.
I heard about the rain in Troy. It's surprising me because we haven't had any rain down here. We're
getting it about every day now.
We're getting a little rain every day. Had some this morning, I think.
I've got to get. Bill, I'm going to invite you to my house today, and I'm going to go by the store and pick up an extra hoe. You can help me hoe in the garden. I've got to get in there. And my grass is about to take over the spot.
Yeah, you got to find it. I got to cut my grass.
It won't take you long. You go see Forrest. He's got a lot that you want to look at.
Well, I've seen his garden. He loaned me his pickup truck when I had to move some furniture. And I finally got to see his garden, his work office where he does his woodworking. I mean, he has got a great little compound behind his house.
Let me tell the public something. The public out there, I want you to know this. You're looking at two fine individuals, two fine family men in Forrest Lee and Bill Rice Jr. I got rich when I got these boys to be on our show. They are really, really good. Don't you think?
Well, I think
Thank you.
Forrest is he's a great American, but Mike Amos and Michael Amos are great Americans too.
And then
Steve Camp's a great American.
Burst Drugs got really rich because it ended up being one guy eating breakfast to three guys eating breakfast.
Yep. Thank you for all those breakfasts.
I'm gonna take y'all to breakfast the next time I'm in town.
I tell you
Does Joe Watson send you a Christmas present every year, Dad? You got to be a top customer.
I try to get it taken off on my income tax, but I don't know.
You ever wonder how many sons and daughters and cousins and all these people that have been charging at Burst Drugs all these years?
Oh, I know it. But, they know what's good. The hamburgers at Bird's, to me, are the best in town. They're wonderful. They give you a great piece of hamburger meat to go with your great potatoes and lettuce. And they're delicious. And then their milkshake. And let me let you know this now. Their milkshake is delicious. And if you're sitting there, you need to get the aluminum container that they make it in. And you got a lot of milkshake there.
Well, they're famous for their milkshake, their hamburger and cheeseburger, definitely their chicken salad, their favorite.
Pimento cheese.
Pimento cheese they're famous for. That's a lot of stuff right there.
Bacon.
You can get the cheese, the chicken, and the tuna, and the pimento cheese all on one plate, and that is quite a meal.
I wonder what kind of bacon they use. I wonder if they use Ziegler or Kelly.
I know
Kelly.
What kind of bacon is it? It's Elba bacon. It is Elba bacon.
Kelly.
Kelly.
Doesn't Emery Ellis work for them?
Yeah, that's right. No question about it. I've got all kinds of information on the FedEx Cup leaders. Who y'all think would be leading?
Candlelight.
Yeah, you got it. Candlelight.
It should be Rom, though,
is
probably.
Number one. And then DeChambeau, though, is won more money than anybody with
Justin Thomas is 3 or 4.
Yeah, Dustin.
Speed is 3rd. Thomas is 4th. Whoever Victor Hovland is 5th.
Victor Hovland's the kid from Oklahoma State that everybody thinks is so great.
Now, let me tell you, I've been sleeping through all this. Who is Jason Kokrak? Who is he?
Kokrak. He beat Spieth at Colonial a couple weeks ago.
He won over 4,600,000, 4,600,000.
4 million. Yeah.
Yeah, they're having the Pimento Cheese Championship, or the Palmetto Championship in South Carolina. And I think is it Dustin Johnson's in 2nd place as of yesterday.
Okay,
he's
from
a South Carolina native.
Where's Will Matthews in the FedEx Cup?
I don't know.
You know, we got a local young lady who's competed in the Miss Alabama pageant. Her name is Eden Hips. She's a Troy University student from the city of Troy. I think she attended Charles Henderson High School. There's 39 women from around the state of Alabama competing. The finals will be tomorrow night, June the 12th, at the Alabama Theater in Birmingham. Her talent is clogging, and she's dancing to the music Think.
Now we know where she's from. It's clogging, because Troy is without a doubt, the clogging capital of Alabama.
Yeah, that's Trish Radcliffe. She's been on the square in downtown Troy for 17 years, and she's a Troy native, Charles Henderson graduate. She graduated from Troy University. Went to graduate school at the University of Alabama. But we have one young lady from Troy University who won the Miss Alabama pageant years ago. Do we remember her name?
Yeah, it was a Hispanic name.
Yolanda Fernandez.
Oh, yeah, Fernandez.
That's right, yeah, Yolanda, yeah.
But Eden's parents are Jessica Two Hips and Darren Hips.
Yeah,
Darren's a very successful accountant here in town.
Yeah, good luck to Eden.
I know he's excited about this. And
she's an accounting major.
Her mother, if you've never seen Eden's mother, you can understand why she's so pretty. Her mother's a beautiful lady.
Right.
Well,
congratulations.
Good luck to her.
Luck
That's
to
a big deal. I mean, it's not every day that a Troy girl competes in Miss Alabama.
I'll tell you what, Alabama Theater is definitely one of my favorite venues to go to concerts ever. It's a beautiful place in Birmingham. If you've never been, you ought to go.
Located right downtown Birmingham.
I can tell you that
it is it's beautiful, beautiful place.
I was the boss of a future Miss America contestant who was Miss Troy University at one time, Jocelyn Tinker.
And where was Jocelyn from? Was she from Alaska?
She's from Alaska, of all places, yeah. She worked for the Troy Citizen, and a good friend of mine, and then I guess she was the junior miss of Alaska. That's how she ended up at Troy, and then she stayed here for 4 years, and then she went back to Alaska and became Miss Alaska. That got her in Miss America, and she won the swimsuit competition in the Miss America and was a top 10 finalist in Miss America.
Well, yeah.
I tell you,
isn't she doing something now, like in New York or something?
No, she married some guy in England. She lives in London, and let's all pray for Jocelyn, though. She has brain cancer. This is I've learned on her Facebook post. We're Facebook friends. And so I don't know how.
Sorry.
Yeah, so she's way too young, and she's going through. They've got a daughter. They've got one child, but she's battling cancer.
She's got to be around my age. Isn't she like 40, 44, 45?
Probably.
You know,
she's beautiful, red-haired girl.
The Junior Miss pageant for the United States used to be in Mobile, Alabama, and Troy University offered all those contestants, the winners from each state, a full ride at Troy University. And at one time, Troy probably had 12 to 14 junior misses from around the United States walking on that campus across.
Great ideas that Ralph Adams had. Ralph Adams was right in control of that. They had a lady that put on their Troy. A lot of people claim that Troy's pageant was the best in Alabama back then.
We had all those junior misses from around country
yeah,
competing.
that was a point of pride that we had all these junior misses.
Steve Rice's wife Nancy was a junior miss from West Virginia.
So she settled in Troy, yeah.
And we got one old boy to wise up and marry, and we got her in Troy. You know, she's a sweetheart too.
Well,
she's a great person.
Jocelyn would have never come to Troy if she wasn't that junior miss winner.
Yolanda Fernandez.
And it brought her
Sue Horvath was from Pennsylvania.
Y'all want to take our first commercial break?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, let's do.
I need a coffee break and a little pit stop, so let's do it.
And I also, Mike, when I come back, I want you to give me all 14 of places that you can bank with Troy Bank and Trust Company in Troy, Alabama. We'll be back in just a moment.
$29 down and payment as low as $99 a month. Yes. Now through Monday, $29 down and $99 a month. Yeah. $29 delivered. Only at Premier Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram. Shop at PremierTroy.com. Nobody beats a Premier deal. Nobody. $29 down and payment as low as $99 a month. Yes. Now through Monday, $29 down and $99 a month. Yeah. $29 delivered. Only at Premier Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram. Shop at PremierTroy.com. Nobody beats a Premier deal. Nobody.
A personal touch, a high level of trust. Whether it's checking and savings accounts, personal or business loans, or our local friendly service. That's what Troy Bank and Trust customers expect. But now we offer more. Free identity theft protection for our new and existing customers, protecting your family's time, money, and good name from identity theft. Because protecting your identity is now a big part of our identity.
This is my chart from Southeast Health.
And you're going to want to make it yours.
Not because it's free,
but because it's priceless. Because with my chart, you can schedule appointments online with your provider.
You can email your provider and get answers.
Get test results.
Refill prescriptions.
And manage your family's health care.
You know how we all want health care to be easier?
But no one seems to listen?
Well, someone did. Southeast Health.
To get your free My Chart app,
visit your app store
or go to southeasthealth.org.
When it comes to surgery, precision is perfection. The very latest technology available ensures the best possible outcome. The Mako Robotic Arm-Assisted Surgery System is now available at Troy Regional Medical Center. Skilled orthopedic surgeon Dr. Robert L. Liljeberg and his team provide patients with faster recovery and better movement after a knee replacement surgery. When accuracy matters, you deserve the very best. Troy Regional Medical Center.
$29 down and payment as low as $99 a month. Yes. Now through Monday, $29 down and $99 a month. Yeah. $29 delivered. Only at Premier Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram. Shop at PremierTroy.com. Nobody beats a Premier deal. Nobody.
We're back. We're back, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Today in L.A. Today is Friday, June the 11th. I'm Forrest Lee. This is Bill Rice. And on the phone we have Mike Amos calling in from Panama City Beach, Florida, and his son Michael calling in from Grayton Beach, Florida. The Florida boys.
The Florida boys.
And we're back.
Of course, it's beautiful down here, and we're really having a good time. But it is gorgeous, and if you can get away, it'd be a great time to do it. But, you know, I was talking to a football player, Charles Simpson football player. You know what? They got the first week off, and then the rest of it's been practice. Can you believe that?
They had 7-on-7 yesterday at Troy University, I believe.
Oh, yeah.
And, you know, the Super Regionals are start today for NCAA men's baseball. You got North Carolina State. North Carolina State will be at Arkansas. East Carolina will be at Vanderbilt. Stanford will be at Texas Tech. Ole Miss at Arizona. South Florida at Texas. Dallas Baptist University will be at Virginia. Louisiana State will be at Tennessee. And Notre Dame at Mississippi State. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 Southeastern Conference teams in the final 16.
Boy, I've never seen anything last so long. This is the Super Regionals, and the winner of the best of two goes to play but the World Series in Omaha.
Yeah, the World Series has always lasted through June there. It's just kind of the way it always has been.
Yeah, best 2 out of 3. So we know LSU or Tennessee will be in the College World Series. One of those two for sure will be.
I'm going to have to order me a Dallas Baptist T-shirt.
Yeah.
Thinking about that made me think of churches, which made me think that this is also Vacation Bible School season, and I know that because my wife is one of the leaders that's doing the First Methodist Vacation Bible School. And
now I want to see how many people date back with me. Dr. Claude T. Ammerman was the pastor of the First Baptist Church in Troy for a long time. And when they got ready for Vacation Bible School, they had a parade. And Dr. Ammerman would sit on the back of this square-top police motorcycle. There was a square top there. And we would go through the neighborhood saying, "Come to Vacation Bible School. Come to Vacation Bible School." I think that probably brought back a memory to a lot of guys my age about Vacation Bible School. That's most important. And I like their Kool-Aid.
There is a lot of work that goes into these Vacation Bible Schools that I just kind of take for granted. But thank you to all the ladies and men that make this happen. What I'm doing, what Carrie is doing is they're doing some kind of skit every day or a little mini play with a good Bible message, and she's one of the stars in this skit. But so I'm reading the lines of the other actor. So I'm playing an actor, and I said, "Carrie, there's no way you're going to memorize all these lines." And she says, "Oh, I will."
You know, I was thinking that old Bubba wasn't having a very good year until I looked up. Bubba's won over $1 million. I wouldn't think that was a terrible year. And Bubba Watson.
Nope.
And
endorsements.
Of course, as we mentioned earlier.
Well, you know what I always say though, when you say they won $1 million, how much money did they really take home?
I don't know.
Well,
Nicholson, he's ranked 45th, and he won $1.9 million so far this year.
So he's won.
That's all from one tournament.
But he only won. He's only taken home about $1 million.
Bubba Watson is ranked 72 in the country, and he still won $1.5 million this year. So, Bubba, I'm afraid Bubba's career might be heading south. Mike, what do you think?
Well, you know, he owns part of the AA Blue Wahoos down in Pensacola, so he's always doing a lot of stuff with the city of Pensacola and going to games and doing stuff down there. So, I don't know. He's won 2 majors and I think 11 PGA Tour events, so he's probably doing close enough to get to the Hall of Fame.
Well, yeah.
You know, I was wondering, that surprised me. What is the thing when you see or hear about Bubba Watson? What is the thing do you think about right off the bat?
Well, he's a lefty. He's lefty and he's super skinny.
Tall.
Skinny arms.
He has a fidgety.
Another thing.
His fidgety.
Well, he had. I know.
He wears a visor. That's what Dad said.
Pink driver.
He wears the big visor, the nice visor. But what else about him?
Pink driver. His wife's about 6'4". I think she was a volleyball player at Georgia.
His wife played basketball at NC State.
Okay.
I'll also tell you something else. He's got 80.
I want to continue. There's a lot of things to say about it.
Well, I'll tell you one that people might know. He's got ADHD, and he's somewhere on the autism spectrum, which surprisingly a lot of golfers are. I learned this in my story on Griff. Yeah, it's a high percentage of golfers have this, and it's just people speculate that these people with this disorder are just more comfortable by themselves on the golf course where they can focus on one thing. But I thought that was interesting. And Bubba's one of them.
This thing about Bubba Watson is unusual. Hardly any of the other golfers on the tour can say this. Y'all got it?
Pink driver.
No, but it's something the way he does things that nobody else does.
Well, he's I don't think he's ever had a lesson. I've read that.
You got it. Ladies and gentlemen, Bubba Watson has never had a golf lesson.
We have something in
common.
common.
Guys pay millions of dollars to have somebody take a look at their swing, you know.
You know, go back to Rahm having to withdraw last week. You know, it's like let him the next day, let everybody go through the course and let him start about a hole or two after. And think what his caddy.
They said he could have played solo.
Think about his caddy, how much money his caddy lost.
I don't like it either.
You know, if he was going to win $1.6 million, his caddy lost like $160,000.
Well, he had a case, but let's be honest. He obviously wasn't sick, or he wouldn't have been able to shoot 65, 64 on the golf course. And say he's got a case. Well, I guess he did. The test said he's positive. Well, he's going to be playing outdoors. I mean, and nobody gets the virus outdoors anyway. So I think what they're doing there is they are penalizing people who have not gotten the vaccine, because he wouldn't have even had to have had that test if he had the vaccine. They wouldn't have made him take it. And
right? Why aren't people taking the vaccine? I mean, as simple as it could be, it doesn't hurt. I don't see or hear of any after effects. They think, why aren't people taking the vaccine like they should?
Well, most people are, but there's good reasons for not taking it. One is if you've got no risk of getting sick, if you get it, say a child or a young adult, why take it? You say there's no risk. Yeah, there's risks. I mean, there's people that are getting strokes and blood clots and I mean, they might be.
But I mean, we're talking about way low odds.
But
a lot of women that are wanting to have kids that are young are scared to have it because they're worried about side effects.
Why don't they mention that?
What are the long-term effects? We don't know.
You don't. There's no way to know.
It's
2, 5, 10
choice.
years from now what will happen to you or your child if you make them get a vaccine. So if say your child's not going to die from COVID. I mean, there's been 50 healthy children in America that have died in a year and a half. But so he's got no risk of dying from COVID. But if you give him that vaccine, he will have a risk maybe of becoming infertile or having some other consequence 10, 15, 20 years out.
So do you recommend that they don't get a virus?
A child, I would not get a vaccine.
Some people are worried about having babies. They don't know the side effects.
Well,
I didn't hear you very good, but I heard something from Wright. What did you say, Wright?
I would say a child definitely does not need this vaccine. The risks are greater from the effects of the.
I might can understand that, but I'm talking about adults. They're not getting the virus. They're not getting the shot.
I would say adults, older adults, and people that have got diabetes and are obese definitely get the vaccine. Probably would be my advice. Now, if you've had the virus, I don't think you need the vaccine, because the greatest immunity in the world is the God-given immunity you get from having had the virus. So Nick Saban, who is a vaccine booster, in my opinion, Nick Saban did not need. I know he didn't need the vaccine because he's already immune. The whole purpose of the vaccine is to make you immune. Why would you get you get a vaccine to make you immune when you're already immune?
Well,
but the key is how do you find out if you're immune?
Well, because
the doctor has to tell you you're immune or what?
Well, the studies have proven that if you've had the virus, you're immune. Antibody test can.
All right, let me give you a little side note here.
Somebody said the antibodies can last like 24 months now.
Well, Abby is flying to Hawaii next week. She must have a test within 72 hours of her departure, a negative test, and it's got to be that nucleate, whatever you call test. All right, so that means she's got to take it Wednesday, and hopefully she'll get her results back Thursday or Friday. Well, she boards the plane Friday afternoon about 12:30. Now, my nephew who's going with her, he has had both. He's had the vaccine. Abby has not. He still must take that test to prove that he does not have COVID, although he's been vaccinated. So once you get into Hawaii, you've got to enter all that into their health portal. Once you get on the tarmac, you better show on your phone or on a document that your test is negative. Otherwise, you're going to be quarantined 10 or so days in Hawaii.
I've heard that. Yeah.
Or you can fly back home.
I'm glad they do that.
Well,
I'm not.
when are we going to stop?
I mean, I'm
not glad they do that in the United
with
States.
somebody with a COVID.
I got to wear a mask on the plane.
My question is, if say, Mike, you've been vaccinated, Forrest has been vaccinated, Michael's been vaccinated. What are you worried about? If you think the vaccine works, say I haven't been vaccinated.
I'm worried about our country. Our country, we're still got too many people out there that don't have the virus.
No, I'm talking about personally. What would be, say you're vaccinated, so you're protected. Why would you be worried since you've already been I mean, are you worried that somebody's going to get? Are you worried that you're going to get sick from COVID?
Well, I know this. I feel very good about myself. I've taken two shots, but I do worry about other people, their families, and whatever. That could give.
My big issue though is are we ever going to completely open back up until? The government's not going to let us completely open back up until everybody has the vaccine. So, I mean, if that's the case, why don't everybody just go and get it so we can open back up and be done with it once and for all?
Well, then, because people have their own reasons to not get it, and you're telling me that the government is telling me what I got to put in my body.
Yeah. But I'm gonna tell you
because you say it's needed.
I think a lot of it has to be done with gutless. I don't think they got the guts to get the thing. This thing.
It's not guts.
I think it's a
people
personal
are set in their own
choice.
ways and don't want to.
I didn't say
what
God.
they're told.
I didn't say God. I just said.
No, you said have the guts. Anybody can go get it.
Oh yeah, the guts. Yeah, you're right. The guts. Yeah.
Well, I just don't understand it. If people believe the vaccine works, they should be relaxed. They shouldn't be worried about whether I haven't had it, but since you've been vaccinated, I can't give it to you because you're immune.
Now, who are the people that are at harm's way in this? Is this the people that did not have the shot, and you're around other people that did not have the shot, and they still get the virus?
Yeah. Just because you've had the shot doesn't mean you can't have COVID. You'll just be asymptomatic and not know it. So you can still give COVID.
How about my friends that don't have it? Let's just say I'm around a bunch of friends that about half of them had the shot, and half of them didn't. The people that are at harm's way are the people that didn't have the shot. Is that right?
Theoretically, I mean, that's what you should say. I mean, yeah, they would be the only people that could get COVID, hypothetically.
How many of these 11 or 14 million immigrants, illegal immigrants, have had the shot or not had the shot? Stop the border.
Well, we're going to give away 500 million shots to our friends in foreign countries. And
it's just like I tell my wife all the time. Like, of course, none of this is known, but say that everybody has the vaccine, and everybody on the planet that had the vaccine loses their hair. So basically, everybody's going to be bald the rest of their lives. I was like, is it better that we're at least are not going to die? I mean, that's the way I look at it. I mean, I'm just like, if everybody else is bald, I guess it's no big deal.
Yeah.
What will be the next virus?
We need to go into wig business, don't we? We need to go into wig business.
We'll have probably another virus.
You know what? I wrote a column to AL.com. Did y'all see AL.com finally published one of my pieces on the vaccine, and I couldn't believe they published it.
When does that take place? I read AL.com all the time.
Well, they didn't put it on page one, and they kind of buried it in the op-ed section. But I just said, really, all you got to do on the you don't need science in the vaccine question. You just need to understand statistics and probabilities. So what is your statistics and probabilities that you will die or have a severe case of this disease? Now, here's the odds. I've run them and looked at the CDC's mortality statistics for children, because I'm looking at what my 5 and 9-year-olds should get it. Well, if you are a non-minority and you are healthy, your odds of dying from COVID are about 1 in a million. So I want to give you some context. So yes, you could die. I mean, you could be that one person out of a million. There's 5 million people in Alabama, so you could be one of the 5 that did. But your odds of getting struck by lightning, I've looked this up, in a given year are 1 in 700,000. Have you ever heard the expression, man, my odds, you got better odds of getting struck by lightning or winning the lottery? Yeah. So actually the odds that a healthy child will die of COVID are higher than the odds that child will be struck by lightning. So given those odds, why do you want to get that kid vaccinated where you don't know the odds of if he'll become infertile one day or have some kind of... And then also, people gloss over this, 50% of the people who've had the vaccine get sick. We all know people that are, for a day or two, so it's a coin toss that you say, all right, you say, Maggie, you got to go get this shot. 1, she's going to cry like the dickens when she gets it. And then 2, you got a 50-50 chance that for a day or two she's going to have flu-like symptoms. So we put her through that crying for 5 minutes. She's going to get sick, 50-50 chance for a day or two. That ain't going to be fun.
What are the
And then you say, well, why did you do that? Well, now she's not going to die from COVID. Thank God she's not going to die. And then I would come back and say, well, she had a 1 in a million chance of dying from COVID.
What is the age limit right now?
They want to go all the way to 12.
You could get the shot as young as 12.
All right, if my child was 12, she would get the shot.
And you know what? And I say these odds are 1 in a million. The odds are 1 in a million.
It would make me feel good that she got the shot.
I'm not gonna get. She ain't getting the shot as long as I'm there.
Has the shot been verified that it's gonna?
You don't know.
Work.
You cannot. All of these vaccines. Here's how they work. You test them up until COVID for years. Then you can kind of say, all right, we've tested these people for 2 years and we see the side effects or the long-term consequences. Well, with the COVID vaccines, you know how long they tested these people that were in these studies after they got their vaccine? 2 months, because everything was rushed. So all these studies are based on, 2 months after Joe got the vaccine, 1% of 1% had this side effect. Well, that's 2 months. Wouldn't you like to know what's going to happen in 8 months or 16 months?
Is it about money?
Yeah. I don't know. It's free. It doesn't cost them anything. It does.
No, I'm talking about somebody's getting money.
Well, the government is printing the money, which this inflation we're having right now, you don't think it's related to all the free...
But what pharmaceutical companies are benefiting?
They're making billions.
Shock therapy.
Oh yeah,
Bill Gates is responsible for the Moderna shot, and then all of a sudden Bill Gates' wife wants a divorce. What does she know?
Yeah.
Well, I want to make. I made these odds. These odds are true. The odds of a the mortality rates are different for minorities and non-minorities. For a non-minority healthy child, somebody that has leukemia is different than somebody who's healthy. The odds are at least 1. It might be 1 in 2 million that you're going to die from COVID. Now those odds are based on the last 15 months. Well, what's happened to COVID in the last 4 months? Heck, it's falling off the cliff. The cases and the hospitalizations and the deaths have all plummeted. So those odds that I just gave you are even smaller today because people aren't getting COVID and getting sick like they did.
Okay, now, and it's because of I think it's all because of the shot, though.
I don't think it's...
What is the death rate now? Like yesterday, what would be the death rate in America?
I can pull it up.
But all this has affected what?
Alabama's players, 85% have been vaccinated. Did we read that?
Right.
Oh yeah, it's like that. You've got a strong incentive. They make it where you got to get vaccinated because if you're vaccinated, you don't have to have that swab put up your nose, 4 inches for 3 times a week. If you, they're not going to test you, so you're not going to be putting these protocols. They're going to tell you technically you don't have to get the vaccine, but oh, by the way, if you do get the vaccine, we're gonna make sure all this bad stuff you don't have to go through it anymore.
This
the numbers have dropped dramatically. I mean, I will say this is the lowest I've ever seen, probably since the summer. But it was only 14,880 cases yesterday, new cases.
All right. How many deaths?
Yesterday there was 424.
All right, still 424.
And they're probably 75.
There's 614,000 deaths in the United States.
Total again, one more time.
614,000 deaths since COVID started.
I want to address what Mike said, and I'm doing this. This is my opinion, but it's fact based.
All of this is our opinion.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. We
look at a lot of stats.
India is about to pass the United States in total cases.
Boy, I can talk about cases. Is how you define what is a case? Let's ask our audience. Can anybody define what a case is?
Well, the problem with the cases is sometimes I think the cases are put in twice in the database.
Here's what a case is. The definition of a case is you tested positive on a PCR test. Here's what case is short for. It used to be called a medical case. Have you ever heard that? Oh, he's a medical. What does a medical case mean? Think about it.
Go to the doctor.
That's right. It says you needed medical treatment. Now look at COVID. If you are a case of COVID, if you have tested positive, how many people have tested positive had to go to a doctor or the hospital? Very, very, very tiny percent. So you see what they did? A medical case, i.e. you got to get medical treatment, became a case, which 80% of them are asymptomatic, but yet that word case connotes medical, connotes I got to go see a doctor, when that's not the case at all. But getting back to have the vaccines caused this plummeting of cases, hospitalizations, and deaths? Maybe a little bit. But here's when the cases, hospitalizations, and deaths peaked on January 11th. This is in Alabama, but pretty much the world. That's the peak of the flu and virus season, man. The winter, they were sky high. Everybody was wearing masks, didn't matter. The cases went through the roof in December or January. Then they started plummeting. Still pretty high through February. And then by about into March, they were gone. I mean, you had a 95% literally drop. You went from 5,500 cases a day in Alabama to less than 200 cases a day. Do the math. That's 5,300 cases, boom, disappeared. And you say, well, the vaccines did it. Well, there's a problem with that. By the time all these cases started plummeting, only about 2% of the population of Alabama had been fully vaccinated. It took a long time to roll out these vaccines, and the first people that got them were the old people. So I don't know how you can say, gosh, cases started to plunge in January. The vaccines did it when nobody in Alabama had even been vaccinated. So the vaccines had nothing to do with this plunging. What happened? Why did the cases plunge? The cases plunged because we left the flu and virus season. COVID is seasonal, just like the darn flu and cold are seasonal.
But let me ask this. Do you think any of those statistics will be anywhere like it if you didn't have the shot? If you didn't have the shot?
I would think
I think the shot's been the difference.
No. Well, I just explained that, why did
he thinks herd immunity.
Well, seasonality is the main reason. Cases go way up in the winter and then they come way down. You'll see it.
We thought last year that it was going to go away in the summer and it didn't go away.
Well, compared to the November, December, and January, it did. But then the other thing I think is herd immunity. Michael just said that a lot more people have already had the virus, and so they're naturally immune. And if you look at the Alabama dashboard, there have been 530,000 people that have tested positive. Might be more than that now. Alabama has a little less than 5 million people. So about 12% of the Alabama population has got a positive COVID test. Forrest, you've had one, right?
I had the Johnson.
My wife has been positive. I've never been positive. Michael's never been positive. But that's 12% that we know of.
Michael had the shot.
But I'm saying he's never had a positive PCR test.
I never got tested with COVID.
I've been positive, and
You're one of the 12%. My wife is one of the 12%. But now here's the point I want to make, though. That's the people we know that got a positive test. We've already established that most people that get this case, they don't even know it. They're asymptomatic. So the percentage of people who have had COVID, this virus, is a lot more than 12%. Wouldn't we agree with that? I mean, it's not.
Yeah, I've actually had the test. I've had the test before.
And it was negative, right?
You know, with the thing they stick up your nose. You know, I've had that.
Well, I'm saying that you got a negative, but 12% of the people who have done that have got positives. My point is that probably, if you really want to know how many people have had the virus, probably multiply that 12% times 4 conservatively. I would say that 48 to 50% of the population easily has already had this virus. That's half the population that's already immune.
Yeah.
So if you got half the population that's already immune, of course the cases are going to start to plunge. So combine seasonality and
60%. We're at 60% nationwide that have taken the
getting there with the vaccine.
Yeah, the vaccine. Yeah.
And then now you say if you say the vaccine provides immunity, which we're debating this, y'all. Michael just pointed out that, yeah, you can have the vaccine, but you can still get a case. It's going to be a mild case, but you can still get a case. But let's say that everybody who is vaccinated is immune. They're not going to die, or 95% of them aren't. Plus all the people that have natural immunity, we've got to be very, very, combine the vaccinated people with the people who've already had it, and you're at, 80% of the population that is immune. I'm here to tell you that this virus is behind us, man. I mean, there's going to be a few.
There are several people though that I know personally still can't smell, can't taste food, have a COVID cough. There's a lot of side effects people don't realize with COVID.
Well, I have a taste problem.
Just because you survive doesn't mean that you're not going to have side effects.
But let me tell you this. I have a taste problem, and once you get a taste problem, foods just don't taste the same. If you've got a taste problem, then I do. I don't know why.
I'm just saying. I know a group of girls. I won't name names, but they live down here, and it was about 12 of them. They went to a bachelorette weekend in Charleston about 3 or 4 weeks ago. So out of that 12 that went to Charleston and partied it up, I mean, they're young girls, all in their 20s, they came back to the beach. 8 of those 12 tested positive for COVID, and about 4 of them got sick. So, I mean, it's still going on. It's just a matter of, just a matter of...
Don't be foolish. Don't be foolish and take the shot. I don't care what you say. That's your best chances.
If people can do whatever they want to in their life, this is a free country, so we're not going to demand anybody do anything. But it's just one of those type of things that some people believe in taking a shot, and some people don't. You can't.
Well, you can't.
I don't think any differently of Bryce that he doesn't want to get the shot.
Well, I appreciate that. That's what me too, and I don't think you think differently of somebody that does want to get it or wear the mask. That's fine. That's their choice. But you say,
you know what though? There'll be 100,000 people at to watch Alabama play football. To me, I'd make every one of them have the shot before they could come in the game.
I know you would.
I would not.
Well, you say we're a free country. I would dispute that. But Forrest just spent 3 minutes telling about the hassle that his daughter has to go through to go to Hawaii. 10 days. Is that that's not my definition of free.
You can't go in the grocery store unless you've had the vaccine.
I just read a story that a hospital in Houston, the big hospital in Houston, if their workers have not been vaccinated, they are going to be terminated.
And that's something. That'll tell you something right there.
Well,
and I love your daughter, Forrest, and I want everything to be safe. I would think you would feel a lot better about it if she had the shot.
Let me ask you, how old is Abby?
21.
Abby gets COVID. What's the worst going to happen?
She's already had it. I mean, she's had it.
Tell me her symptoms. What were they?
Minor.
I mean, was it worse? Has she ever had the flu? Was she in bed for a week?
No.
Could she work and call and talk to people and pretty much move around?
Yes.
This is not a big deal, folks. When you're saying, I have had the flu 3 times in my life. I think I had COVID in January. That's why I think I'm a mutant. You say, why don't you get a vaccinated, Bill? Because I think I've had the virus, and just like I think Michael's had it.
That's what the thing about it, though, right? You think you're saying that, but we don't officially know what it was.
Well, that's true. You can't know for sure.
If you look at it this way, a lot of college kids get mono. Mono lasts a lot longer than most symptoms of COVID for the majority amount of people. So
it lasts a year.
Well, I want to know all this testing that the colleges have done. They've tested every player on that team up to 3 times a week, maybe 4 times a week. I want to know what the test proved. They know who was positive. I want to know of these positive ones, how many were asymptomatic, how many had symptoms. If they did have symptoms, how bad.
You and every sports journalist in the country want to know that.
Well, I haven't seen one sports journalist that's I've tried to pursue it. I called the SEC, emailed them, said, of these people who tested positive, what percentage were asymptomatic? Answer I got from the spokesman for the SEC, we can't divulge that information. Or they either said, we won't divulge it or we don't know it, which would be bizarre that they wouldn't know. They're doing all this testing and they're not finding out how many are asymptomatic. So anyway, my point is I guarantee you that, say Alabama has 100 football players that were tested, I think my guess would be that probably in the season they might have had 15 that tested positive. We just learned that it's 12%. So let's say they had 12 during the season that tested positive. Of those 12, I bet you maybe 2 or 3 had mild symptoms and felt bad for a day or two. When you say, well, gosh, Najee Harris felt bad for 2 days. In a typical year, high school or football team, I'm going to tell you, there are going to be a couple kids that get the flu and feel bad for longer than 2 or 3 days.
There's going to be there's going to be some teams that won't be able to play because of it.
You were a former coach.
How many high school players in Alabama had COVID and played on Friday night? They weren't tested. They weren't sick. I bet there were a ton.
There were a lot of John Rahms that ran for 250 yards when they had COVID. Yeah, you're right. That is a great point.
Dad, you went to like 9 games last year, probably Troy and other games. I mean, you weren't worried about those people being tested then when you went to those games?
You mean the
I
players?
ate popcorn without a mask on.
No, I'm talking about the fans. You weren't concerned about that.
Well, there's been a study that came out. This outdoor event canceling the Big Ten and the Pac-12 not allowing fans is so ridiculous now that a study came out. Several have come out of 1,000 people who catch COVID. The study said, how many of those 1,000 do you think contracted the virus outside? 1,000 people get it. One in 1,000 cases, they say, come from outdoor. So we cancel all of it.
Ladies and gentlemen, Bill Rice Jr., I wouldn't say he can call himself an authority, but he sure is smart when it comes to this topic. He has studied it and studied it and studied it, and so has Forrest and Mike, too. So I think these are all good differences of opinion. My opinion is, hey, get the shot and be safe. Get the shot.
I feel like what we decided from the show today is that we need to go back to the scarlet letter, and guys and people that don't get the vaccine, you put that on.
That's where we're heading.
Know that this guy doesn't have it.
Within a year or two, what will be the next virus? Well, we want you to get another shot.
You know that
it's another shot.
Before we go off the air, our good friends at Troy Bank and Trust Company, the only bank you'll ever need is Troy Bank and Trust Company. Also, Bird Drugs on the corner in downtown Troy. Also, Sandbug Insurance located in downtown Troy, Denny Sanford, and all that great group. They got offices in Andalusia, Enterprise, and Troy. And going to appreciate you guys more than anything for running the show, and y'all do a great job.
Well, we got 5 more minutes. I want to build on something that Forrest said. Thank you. You mentioned the high school protocols, which there basically was. The high school protocols were, if you got symptoms, go get a test. You know, that makes sense to me. If you feel sick, go see if you got COVID. But the high schools could not test every football player 3 times a week. They couldn't afford it. So basically, they just said play. If we get a positive test, we'll deal with it later. Completely different in college and the NFL. So what you have is a placebo group that did it one way, and this other group that did it another way. Are you following me? That's the scientific method. So let's compare the results of high school, no testing, college and pros, they're testing you every darn morning. Well, who had the worst COVID results? You would say, oh, the high school kids. Gosh, they weren't tested, they're dropping out, they're filling up the hospital wards. They just didn't care about these kids. They didn't get the tests, they didn't have the protocols. What happened to the high school kids? Absolutely nothing. So my conclusion is, if the colleges and the NFL had done exactly what the high school had done, they would have got exactly the same results. So they wasted all these tens of millions of dollars, kept these kids from playing in games that they shouldn't have, canceled games, all for what purpose? Was my question.
Well, how much damage?
All for virtue signaling, all to say that, oh, we care about the kids, and we're protecting them. And the kids were fine. They had no health risk whatsoever, and they should have known that from May 2020.
And now COVID is wrecking our economy because of all this money we're printing, and we're giving it away, and people can't find help to run their businesses, and the quality of the product that you get, be it a convenience store, a fast food restaurant, or even a grocery store, it's not what it was a year and a half ago.
Shrinkflation, the quality's going down.
And it ain't over yet.
Inflation is, I don't care what anybody says,
it's not over yet.
It's terrible. Listen, when you print $1.3 trillion in a month in one bill, just poof. Let's make $1.3 trillion, and you expect, oh, there's not.
Productive society.
I'm having to pay $3.20 for regular gas now.
Let me mention something to you. The premier, the guy in charge of North Korea, what's his name?
Kim
Jong-il.
All right. There's a report now that he's losing weight, and it's causing a lot of concern. And they're basing it on pictures of his watch, how his watch is, and of course he looks a lot different. And they're concerned, national security all across the country, all across the world. There's something wrong with him. What's going to happen to North Korea? Is he going to make a rash decision? So I mean, this health stuff, and
so he's sick again.
Well, who knows? We don't know. He may just lost weight, but it's a national concern.
Hey, I want to say something. I want to say one thing on the record, since we got viewers in all over the world. You know how I got interested in this COVID research is I thought that the virus was around earlier than the government and other people were saying. I found a couple in Sylacauga that had it in December. I still think that is the biggest unreported story yet, is that there's so much evidence that there were people in November and December that had this virus, and for the life of me, I do not understand why other reporters or the CDC won't even look into this possibility. So the timeline is completely off, and everybody's now focusing on Wuhan, China. They had it in November, which they might have. But I say, well, Bill Rice Jr. has found tons of evidence that tons of Americans had it in November and December. All the focus on China, none on America.
I'd like to hear one report right now for people that need to know that the virus is still out there. How many people in India have gotten the virus.
A lot. Well, listen, Mike, we're going to have to close the show. I hope you have a great weekend, Mike and Michael. I want to thank you for tuning in for Today in L.A. with Mike Amos, and this is Bill Rice on
Go to your favorite church
and
pray to the Lord.
Oh, that's right.
It's going to get better.
And watch again at 1:30. We got a lot of people are interested in this. I appreciate y'all letting us talk about this COVID stuff because people are interested. And I know people got different opinions, but it's good to get both of them.
We're not having to wear masks anymore at church down here. Is that changed in Alabama?
Yeah.